thy brother for glory and for beauty, and thou shalt speak unto all that are wise hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom. So they've been filled with, the Holy Spirit.
That they may, my brothers and sisters, I want to ask y'all help. Like in the New Testament, right? Well, I can think of like several scriptures talking about linen or wool, right? But in the New Testament, just in the New Testament, can you guys help me as well? Like more, what pops in your mind in New Testament?
Okay, so New Testament would be... Do you want linen or wool?
I'm sure it's going to be probably separated, both, I guess. If I'm not wrong, there probably will be, in New Testament, they'll be probably spoken of it like separately.
Yeah, there's Matthew chapters 27, 59, Mark chapter 14, 51, but this one is good. It says Mark chapter 14, verse 52, and he left the linen cloth. Wait, no, that's from them naked. And then the next one's Mark 15, 46. And he bought the fine linen and took him down and wrapped him in the linen and laid him in the sepulchre, which was hewn out of a rock, and rolled a stone into the door of the sepulchre. And the rich man was clothed in purple fine linen. Yeah,
I really got to study. I can't do this like today. I already know this is something I'm gonna study for the next 6 months probably.
I'm gonna look for the wool. Wear the wool.
It's all your fault, Himalaya.
Give me Gideon's fleece for 500, Alex.
So in Hebrews 9:19 it says, "and scarlet wool," which scarlet's usually with royal too.
What about the fleece jacket of our teacher? Morning, teacher.
What's up, Christian? You're awful quiet, man. You ain't got no answers on this one, or what?
I am trying to finish up on things at work so I can go home.
And in Revelation chapter 1:14, it says his head and his hairs were like wool, and I forget what that represents now.
Yeah, the whole part changes everything.
Let's go to Old Testament wool.
But we know that the two different materials will pull apart in the real world, right?
All right. So it's like y'all see that there has to be that it's pointing to a truth, but you're not able to like demonstrate that. And that's where you'll find a problem. Because something is true.
That's a big problem, yeah.
Do what?
Sorry. I know I need to do that.
Huh?
No, I'm saying like I see that problem as you put it, and I know that this is something we need to work on.
You see a problem what?
Like I see a problem of like not being able to explain these things, and we need to be able to.
Yeah. You have to be able to articulate what you're saying, because if you just tell somebody, "Oh, that's Jesus," well, if they don't know what you're talking about, like, what do you mean that's Jesus? You need to be able to articulate what you're saying. So we can point, like, automatically you're going to have multiple verses pop in your head, and you're going to be like, "Oh, well, isn't it like this, or isn't it like that story over there, or isn't it like that story?" But you're not showing the work. You're just kind of saying, "Well, that story's like that. This story, it's Jesus, right? Jesus," and yeah, but you need to be able to like articulate that, right? So
okay, so I think the linen is more like a covering, whereas the wool, because the more I read about the wool, they're always referring to the wool as like pure.
Yeah, like where? Like where we're at?
Oh, here's one that says clothed with wool, though. Like I was thinking, like the one they said in Revelations, but now I'm back in the Old Testament.
Revelation? What are you talking about in Revelation?
Stop that.
Huh?
Let me go back and you want me to read the one from Revelation?
Sure. Go ahead.
You want me to read it?
Go ahead.
Revelation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so Revelation 1, chapter 14, his head and his hairs were like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
That's the one you're referring to in Revelation?
Well, that's the only one that came up in Revelation.
Oh, well, you were talking about linen, and then now you read that.
There's a lot more for linen. Yeah, there's a lot more.
Yeah. So look, guys. Look, I'll get straight to the jugular. Okay, on this. It may have taken you several hours to kind of go through this so you can be able to articulate it, but I'll get straight there. Just to help you out. The high priest's garments were made of fine linen, right?
Right.
Okay. So watch. Why was the high priest's garments made out of fine linen?
Because if he was found as the high priest, never mind.
Yeah.
Because the high priest is the high priest. But the other guys, if they were found asleep, then their linen garments were burned, right? Or set in fire.
Why was the high priest's garments made out of fine linen? Jennifer. 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 I know you hear me.
Well, the rich man's was made out of it too. Is it because they have self-righteousness?
No, because the high priest is the shadow of Christ in the future.
Ah, there's the answer. Because the high priest was a shadow of Christ. That's the answer. So now we see that the high priest wears linen and blue and purple and scarlet. The tabernacle inside of it had what colors and what materials?
Gold, silver.
Oh my God. What I just named, Himalaya, what I just named. The high priest garments, scarlet and purple, fine linen, because it was a shadow of Christ, the high priest. That's what those colors, that's what the attire, that's what the whole point of that was. And so it says not to mix what two materials again?
Linen and wool.
Okay. So obviously linen comes from the ground and wool comes from an animal. Right? So when he said, doesn't that go back to Cain and Abel? Yes, it does. But if you're not starting off with the high priest garments and explaining that, you're just giving answers. That's all you're doing. So we know that Cain, gave works of his own hands, right? Fruit from this world to God. But Abel gave the animal, the wool. And so the reason that you're...
I didn't think about Cain and Abel, but yes. Okay.
Okay, so, but if you don't start talking about the high priest, you're not doing a good job at laying down some crumbs. You're really not. So you get straight to the high priest, you talk about what his garments are made out of, so you can talk about Christ, and then you start going around and you start picking all the stories that God put there to help you show your work to when you get to the main part, right? Which I'll say in a minute. But so where do we see another example like Cain and Abel? Anybody? Guys, don't forget about the two guys in prison that Joseph interpreted their dreams. That is a 100% just like Cain and Abel. Right? What did Cain do for work? Does anybody remember? Huh?
He worked the ground. He tilled the ground.
Right. He was a tiller of the ground. So what kind of works could he offer to God?
Only those works produced by men's hands.
No, bro. His job, bro. What was his job?
Oh, fruits, vegetables.
Okay. Isn't that what he offered?
Yes.
Okay. So the baker in prison, what was his job?
Baking.
Right.
To deal with the flour and the seed. Oh, okay.
What was the job of the baker, Christian, in prison?
To make bread.
All right. So what did he offer Pharaoh? What did he offer Pharaoh in his dream?
Bushels of baskets of bread.
Yeah, baked meats, right? Which is like pastries and bread. So even though those both are pointing the works of the hand, if that's what it's pointing to, it gets very specific about they offer what they are doing for a job. That's what you see. So Cain was a tiller of the ground. Did he offer baked meats? No, he offered what he did to the ground. The baker did not offer vegetables and fruit. He offered baker's goods. But what they're both pointing at is works from man's hands. That's the whole point. But you still have to pinpoint what the particular person is offering. All right. In the story of the two guys that Joseph interprets their dreams, the other guy, what was his job? Does anybody remember?
He's the cupbearer.
All right. He was a cupbearer. And what did he offer?
In the dream?
Yeah, in the dream. Anybody remember?
Wine, I don't think. I think it was just grapes.
Anybody remember what he offered?
Like he squeezed the grapes.
Right. So he offered what his job was. Drink, correct?
Right.
Okay. But what was the difference between the two offerings?
One is like squeezed, like he didn't have to work, like it's just squeeze it out.
Well, if he squeezed it out, he worked. So you're missing the point. Where did he get the juice from?
The grape, yeah.
Huh? Where did he get the juice from?
The plant, the grape. Vine.
Right. Where did it come from?
Christ.
No, in the dream. Where did it come from in the dream? Go read it, Himalaya. Himalaya, go read it. Pull it up.
The vineyard?
The answer's there in the story. The answer's there.
Okay.
I want everyone to see where he got the juice to put in that cup. And how he got it.
Genesis, it says it's in Genesis 40. Genesis 40.
Yeah, it's going to be in the 40s.
I could try them.
Yeah. Okay. Sometime. Okay. So I'll read from 1. Sometime after this, the cupbearer of the king of Egypt and his baker committed an offense against their lord, the king of Egypt.
No, Himalaya. Go find the story where Joseph is interpreting their dreams already. Go further. We don't got to read for 30 minutes.
Okay. So the verse 9. So the chief cupbearer told his dream to Joseph and said to him, "In my dream there was a vine before me, and on the vine there were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, its blossoms shot forth, and the clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. Then Joseph said to him,
All right.
"This is
So
its
hold on. All
interpretation."
right. So where did this person get the juice from to put in that cup?
The vine and the branches.
The 3 branches of the vine.
Look, you're not wrong, but because you're not seeing what I'm trying to get you to see, your answer is very carnal. Look, the baker. All right, where did the baker get his baked goods from to give to Pharaoh in the dream?
I don't want to say it again, but I mean, obviously, it came from the field of where men's hands worked the field and gathered the grain.
So say that in English, Christian. Where did he get it? Say it in English, bro. 2024.
He got it from the farm.
Oh my God. He got it because he made it. Yes. Did he make it?
Yeah, he made it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So you don't have to
he
say,
made it.
you don't have to say flower, the fields of the man's hands. Listen, he made it. Yes or no? Are we in agreement that the baker made?
Yes, he made it.
Okay. So where?
Oh my goodness.
Hold on a second, Christian. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Himalaya, where did the cupbearer get the juice from?
The cupbearer got the juice from the vine, which is not work, which is...
It was freely given, bro. Oh no.
No, it's still not a good answer. I know it's not a good answer, but I don't even know how to answer.
So let's go over this one more time. Cain was a tiller of the field, and he offered to God from what he did for a living, right? That's what he offered him, vegetables and fruits. We can just say that.
So
Hold on a second. Hold on. Are we in agreement so far that Cain put seed in the ground? There was a harvest. He went out there, picked the harvest, and then he offered that harvest to God. Will that sound like it? That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So Abel, where did Abel get his offering from?
From the animals hunting in the wilderness, in the woods.
Okay. Or he was more like a shepherd and he had to take one of the sheep from the flock.
Right. Oh, like David was. Yeah.
Okay, but where did he get the animal from? Where did he get it from?
His own flock.
Huh?
From God.
Right. So let me say this. Did Cain plant the seed of this animal?
No.
Himalaya, did Cain plant the seed of this animal?
No.
Did he play a part in its birth? So if you say, well, yeah, he wrapped the rope around one of the legs and he had to help pull it out. I'm saying in the process of it being created, what part did he play?
None.
He didn't play any part. It was given to him. It was a gift.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And he took that gift and offered it to God. If you cannot see the correlation between Cain and Abel and the two men in prison that Joseph interpreted the dreams, you're not reading the Bible right. You're still not putting two and two together. All right. So Cain and the baker, can we say that they come from the same flock? The same sheepfold?
No.
Huh?
No.
No? Why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, bro.
Yes, because they both work with their hands.
They both tried to offer something from their own works to get freedom, to be set free. And then Abel and the cupbearer both offered something that was given to them freely. So the cupbearer says in his dream, he says, before me there was a vine, and on the vine was 3 branches. Jesus says that he's the vine, and he says that we are the branches. And then he says, without me, you cannot bear fruit. So there you have the vine, branches, and fruit. And the Bible says to give freely as it was given to you. That's what D-Scale does on a daily. It gives freely as it was given. Right?
Yeah, yes. So
Okay,
that's
hold
why
on. So then the cupbearer has a cup in his hand. He sees this. Did he plant the seed that made this vine grow?
No.
Did he water it?
No.
No. But he went up there and he saw that it was good news. And he put that good news in that cup and gave it to Pharaoh. And then he was set free. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So where are we at now?
So the verse 10, right? The part that told me Jesus is because it says, as soon as it budded, its blossoms shot forth. Had to be budded, right? So that's like Jesus. I mean, what I'm asking is like to you. The question is like, the budded part is important, right? For the due time when
The
Jesus
whole
is
thing, the whole dream is 1000% important. There is not one insignificant thing in that dream. They're all 100,000% significant to understanding what's happening. In that dream, there is no small or greater thing. They're all even, every one of them. So, all right, so where are we at now after we went over that? Where are we at?
we were at the interpretation, where Joseph is interpreting that cup thing.
Huh? What?
Joseph is interpreting the cupbearer's dream.
Yeah, but we're not going over the interpretations. We're going over how Joseph knew how to interpret. I just went over it, how he knew what they meant. So if you're confused on how did Joseph know, I just literally went over it. Do you see how Cain and the baker, those things were unpleasing, one to God, one to Pharaoh. Abel and the cupbearer were both pleasing, one to God, one to Pharaoh. Right? Okay, now, what was Joseph? Does it tell us what Joseph, remember when Pharaoh put a ring on Joseph's finger? Somebody go to that.
Verse 42, Genesis 41. Then Pharaoh took a signet ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand and clothed him in garments of fine linen and put a gold chain about his neck.
What did they clothe Joseph in?
Fine linen.
And what is fine linen used to clothe somebody's particular?
High priest.
A high priest.
Yeah.
Because Joseph is a shadow of Christ.
Right.
Okay, so, and what is the two garments you're not supposed to mix together?
Linen and wool.
Linen.
Yeah. So why don't you mix linen and wool together?
Would that be mixing works in grace?
Yeah, there's a lot of answers, right? One of the answers is the same reason that you don't offer what Cain offered, the same reason that you don't offer what the baker offered. You don't offer your works of your hand. You don't offer man's works, but you got to go through there slowly. Getting straight to like punchlines doesn't help people understand what it is you're saying. So if linen was used to make the hold on, let me finish. So you don't mix the shadows with the actual Christ. You can't mix them. The shadow is not Christ. So wearing the linen and wool is kind of like offering some of your works and then some of Christ's works, because the wool would be talking about him. So at the end of the day, aren't we supposed to be covered by Christ?
Yes.
So that would be the entire wool, not mixed with anything, all wool, which would be you receiving all of the grace of God, not mixed with works. So it's all these things. It's all of it. It's not mixing law and grace, but you just can't say that. You have to be able to show what you're trying to say. You can't just yell out Jesus. Look, for you, for your salvation, for your heart posture, you can. You can just say Jesus. You see it? I know that's what it is. But I'm telling you, you're going to end up getting frustrated and angry because you're not able to articulate what it is you're seeing. So you see it, but you have to start articulating it. You can't just say it. You're going to have people there are going to be people that never even heard of a shadow of Christ. And you go out there and say Jesus, they're going to laugh at you. And so, I'm not saying that you're scared to get laughed at. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that you're trying to convey a message to this person. So don't allow their flesh don't help them discount what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. Don't help the flesh discount what you're trying to say. Make sure you have some validity in what you're saying. Now, if they want to mock you after that, well, I mean, you've done all you could, but just to yell out Jesus, it's not enough, right? Because there are people that I've met that were thinking about mocking me. They told me, but I was going through this validity part of it. And they were like, wow, that kind of does make sense. And they were like, dude, I was about to laugh at you out loud. I said, yeah, I know. It happens all the time.
I'm sorry. So sorry to interrupt, Peter. My phone died. Can you please, I beg you, repeat what you just said when I was gone, please?
Yeah, let me repeat this real quick. What is that, Daniel? Is that the Revelation, Daniel? Daniel below. What is that? Chat GPT? What is that? Chat GPT. What is that, guys?
That's the AI.
Do you not know what chat? It's the AI Google that types everything for you. If you ask it a question, it gives it to you.
This guy.
Chat GPT. So what does GPT stand for?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's truly powerful.
It stands for
The
robot.
AI of like the ultimate AI of like Siri, Alexa, all that. It's like
No, it's Google's AI.
God is truly powerful.
yeah.
So why would someone put Chat GPT in a comment then? I guess I don't understand.
It's a place you can go to and it gives you all your answers. It's an AI that gives you more answers than Siri and more answers than Alexa.
No, I'm
Basically,
saying
you ask it a question, and then it gives you an entire rap.
my question is, why would someone put that in the chat, in the comments? I'm not asking to give me a definition of what it is anymore. Why would someone put that in there?
Yeah, they can do that. They can say that you're sounding like ChatGPT, like you didn't go do the research. You got it given to you.
That's
like
how
that.
Joseph
He was making a
interpreted
joke
Yeah.
because he just said that's how Joseph interpreted dreams. I think it was a
it.
joke. Yeah.
Oh, they're saying okay, I see. They're saying don't be like Chat GPT. Oh, Daniel said that's how Joseph interpreted the dream. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he said that Joseph typed into ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's how he
"What's
knew.
this dream mean?" And that's how he got it. Right?
Okay,
He's
my
making a
bad.
joke.
It's very.
I appreciate
detailed.
y'all educating me. I didn't know what Chat GPT was. So now I'm wanting to know what GPT
no
stands
way.
for.
Apparently, it stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer.
Wow.
I told you it was a robot.
Yeah, it means robot.
Transformer, bro.
It means robot.
Transformer.
I was trying to cut to the jugular on that.
No, bro. It's Optimus Prime.
Is that why John the Baptist came clothed in wool?
I don't know. Are you sure that's what it says? Are you sure that's what it says?
Don't forget there's two rules.
Yeah, there's two of everything. Right? Don't forget that.
There's two wool.
I don't know. Let's go look at what John the Baptist wore. Somebody pull it up. Sando said, "Let's ask Chat GPT what John the Baptist
said." Chat.
I believe it was camel hair. I'm trying to find it.
Oh, it was definitely hair of an animal. Well,
Was it wool or was it camel hair?
I said, let's go look it up. Let's go look it up.
Matthew 3:4.
Raiment of camel's hair.
No, camel's hair.
Yeah. Camel's
I
hair.
was about to say, I thought it was camel's hair, but I was like, you're trying to say it was wool? Like, what's going on?
No. Somebody was asking. Somebody was asking, and instead of giving the answer, I said, let's go look it up.
Well, John wore a garment of camel's hair and a leather belt around his waist, and his food was locust and wild honey.
Yeah. He wore camel hair and a belt around his waist. His loins were always girded. And because his camel hair, he is a hairy man.
Same, bro.
Say, bruh. What's up?
You're talking about Ruddy, bro.
Talk about Ruddy. Guys, give me a second real quick.
When the hair represent things.
Yeah.
Yep, sure does.
In a way, yes, it
So
does.
why a camel? Is a camel a clean animal or?
I think it had to do more.
Camels chew the
Camel
cud.
retains water in the wilderness, guys.
I think it had more to do with Elijah.
Jeez.
It had more to do with Elijah than it did.
Jeez.
No.
Calm down. All
Camels
right.
are
So
the
raiment.
Amalekites.
All right.
That's why.
Hold on.
Amalekites.
Himalaya, CJ's trying to talk.
All right. So
What?
G1742. G1742 is raiment. That's enduma. That's garment, raiment, cloak, or an outer garment. And then the word for camel is camelos. G2574. It says camel. So it's a camel. So it's a garment of camel's hair.
So in Zechariah 13:4, it talks about how the prophets wore camel's hair.
And then hair, real quick, hair is G2359 freaks. It says the hair of the head, the hair of animals, genitive case of uncertain derivation, however you say that, hair. So the hair of the head, that is, what you were talking about, Jennifer.
Okay, so if the hair represents faith, why a camel?
I have to go to
A
the camels in
camel
the Old
chews
Testament.
cud, right?
I think the camel goes with locust and the leather belt goes with the honey.
No.
Yeah, but
I think
a camel is not a clean creature based on the law at all.
I think the very poor people wore camel's hair or goat hair.
Yeah, Ryan said it in chat. And chews the cud.
I actually just said that.
Yeah,
Hooves is
the
not
camel.
divided.
Yeah, the camel chews the cud, but the hoof is not divided,
Amen.
and so it is unclean to you. But
The greatest
that's
born
like
among women.
that's the camel itself. So that's not. I mean, I don't know if that's the same as the hair of the camel. Does that make sense?
I think it matters. Why not wool? Why not a rabbit? Right?
Did somebody say it didn't matter?
All right, what's the question? Y'all talking about the camel's hair?
Yeah, the camel's hair.
Camel. Oh goodness.
Go ahead, Jenny. Go ahead.
So I asked why a camel hair truck.
Oh, yeah. So, let me see. How do I say this? Okay, it's not always the animal that is supposed to be looked at. Like it's okay. So we know that God speaks in parables, right? He doesn't just speak in parables. There's pictures. Even the pictures are in parable. So we'll say, why is John wearing camel's hair? So what else could the focus be?
Isn't he the echo of the prophet Elijah? And like here in 2 Kings 1:8, it talks about, aren't they talking about Elijah where he was a hairy man with a leather belt around his waist?
I don't know. Is that what it says? Let's go look at it. I don't know. Let's go look at it. Okay. Pull it up.
2 Kings 1:8. They answered him, a hairy man with a leather belt around his waist. He said, "It is Elijah, the Tishbite."
All right. Now, was Elisha a hairy man or have camel hair on him?
I think he had camel hair.
I don't know. Let's find out. Is that what it says? Somebody find it. Was he a hairy man or did he have camel hair on him?
Let Trey up. I'm gonna go in the chat so he can come up.
Yeah, he was hairy, right? Himself. I don't think that was camel's hair. I think it was actual hair. Yeah, he was hairy, and Esau was hairy too, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then they're all actually hairy, but over here in the New Testament, John the Baptist is wearing the camel's hair. Not like he is hairy, but he's wearing it. So that's why I said the locust and the wild honey. The camel hair goes with the locust, and the leather belt goes with the honey. And I don't even know how to explain, so that's the problem.
All right, what'd y'all figure out?
Oh, we figured out that apparently Dre's hairy.
Hairy.
Do what?
Elijah was hairy.
Okay, so was Elijah wearing camel hair or was Elijah a hairy man?
He was a hairy man.
Okay. He was a hairy man, but he had a bald head. What prophet had a bald head? Or
Lisa.
what
That's always confused me.
or what prophet, whether they had a bald head or not, what prophet was mocked about having a bald head?
The Elisa one.
Elijah.
Was it Elijah or Elisha?
I think it's Shah.
Yeah, it was
The one
Elisha.
Elisha. That's what I said. That's what
Right.
The S.
Right. So when we're talking about John the Baptist, what he was wearing, in this context, it's not so much the animal, it's the fact that he's hairy, but he's wearing it. He's wearing it and he's girded with the leather belt. And Elisha is described as a hairy man who was girded. So John the Baptist, regardless if he was hairy himself, he is wearing camel's hair. So he has a covering. The whole Bible is about a covering that we're supposed to wear. And Jesus is considered a red, hairy person. That's what he's considered. A red, hairy being. He's ruddy and hairy. He himself is a garment. That's why you have David is called ruddy. So it doesn't have to say that David is hairy. He's ruddy. So it's like a very small shadow of what he's symbolizing. His brother Jacob and Esau. Jacob was smooth-skinned, but Esau was red and hairy, which is a shadow of Christ, the firstborn. Jesus is the firstborn, and we are supposed to be covered by him, just like John the Baptist is covered. He covered himself with hair, and he girded his loins with a leather belt. And the whole Bible talks about this. So when we're talking about linen and wool, the thing to point at is that we are describing a covering. Like the whole point of all that is there is a covering, and which one are you supposed to be wearing? Is it supposed to be all linen? Well, that would be the shadow. That would be the shadow of the high priest. So we're not under the law. So we should not be wearing a linen covering. The high priest wore linen covering. We are covered by the wool of Christ, his covering. Because he's a lamb, it's wool. We're covered by wool. So when the Bible says don't mix linen and wool, one of the things it is pointing out is do not mix law and grace. But you just can't tell somebody that. You have to go through there and show them where are you getting these answers from. You cannot just say this stuff and say, oh, well, that's the answer. That's it. What's the point of like saying an answer to something, but someone's trying to learn it and you can't show them where you're getting it from? So you'll hear me say a lot, there's nothing wrong with knowing the truth. Nothing wrong with that, because for you, it's very important. But if you're trying to get someone else to understand or to learn, or you want to disciple someone, you're going to have to go through there. There's more than just yelling out Jesus every time we hear something, right? And that's why me personally, several years ago, that's why I studied so hard, because I can see the answer. I just didn't know how to explain it. And in my studyings, I started learning how to explain it. And so the reason why you'll hear me kind of, laser beam on this truth is because it does nobody any good to just, oh, I know the answer, Jesus. Well, it's good that you know that answer. And like I always say, everybody goes through this. You are not alone. You're not the only person that can see the answer and is having a struggle tying things together. You're not alone, man. It's the matter of fact, 90% of converted Christians today, that's their problem. And I 100% believe it's 90%. And out of the 10%, it's 1% of them that are discipled and they know how to tie things together. So Jesus wasn't lying when he said there's not enough workers. There's not. But the truth is, it's not easy to get there. It's very hard to get there. And, for anyone that studied the Bible at any period of time, like even if you studied the Bible for like 5 hours straight and you wake up the next day and then someone's bombarding you with questions, bro, those 5 hours didn't teach you nothing, because 100 questions can come to you, and the one little topic that you talked about for 5 hours, you don't know how to answer anything because they're not even asking you about that topic. So it's real important, when we start talking about, how do you tie things together? It's real important to know when something plays a role in tying something together or not. So like the camel, there's a lot of things the Bible does say about camels. We know that just like the donkey, it carries things, right? So it holds the burden. We know that that's true, and you can go that route. But the one thing I notice is people always miss the hare. They're more focused on the type of animal than what it is that they're trying to, that the Bible, that Jesus, the author of this entire thing, what he's trying to relay. And we know that John the Baptist, just like so many verses talk about, it's representing Elijah, the spirit of Elijah. And so it's important to know that it's pointing to that hairy part. And then, it talks about what he eats, right? Locusts and honey. And really what locusts and honey spiritually, now in real life, was he eating locusts and honey? Yes, he was. But spiritually, what is it representing? It's representing people feed him. That's what it's representing. When Jesus said, I have meat that you know not of, when he was ministering to the woman at the well, she was the locust, and him giving her a truth to the point that she went in to the city and started ministering to people about who Jesus is, that was the honey. So when it says that John ate locusts and honey, it's saying that the people are his food. That's spiritually, that's what it's talking about. So I usually don't even get into the locust part because you kind of got to go in Revelation to kind of understand what locusts actually are. So
Yeah, teacher Trot, like I think a year ago, I asked you about locusts and you said like study locusts, and that's what I found out. Like I'm still on it study.
yeah,
It's still not complete. But yeah. And also I want to say, right, thank you so much for saying this, because last night in my conversation with the Lord, he told me this exact thing. Like, okay, so for example, Eglon being fat equals flesh, right? But how do we explain these things? Basically, he was telling me that just having the answer is not enough. You need to know how to bring people to the answer so they can also see what you are seeing. So he just told me this last night, and then this morning you confirmed it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Passion said wild honey. Yeah. So can anybody guess why so here's one of those, it seems insignificant, but it's so significant. Why is John's honey called wild honey? Does anybody know?
Because Jesus was wild.
Because Jesus was wild. He was a wild man. What does that mean? If you go out to the wilderness and you eat wild berries or wild honey, what does that mean?
Like
The mountain.
it would be like something like it would have to go back to like even the wild donkeys, I guess, like untamed, unloosed, something to do with spiritually like not discipled or something like that, something to that nature.
Yeah. Well,
One is
I don't want to
produced
say
in
the
the
answer
city
yet.
by-
Do what?
I said one's produced in the city and one is produced in the wild.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Is
That's
nature.
that's true. So what is it? What is it referring to then?
One is one is given freely, and one you work on.
Yeah. So, matter of fact, before I just say it, somebody go to where it talks about what John the Baptist eats and look up that word wild.
So would one would be planted by man and one would not be planted by man?
Yeah. We know that's true, right? Because wild honey, the bees make it. Nobody even knows that they're there. So let's go to the verse where it's at, where it talks about John eats. Go ahead.
G66.
Matthew 3:4. The word wild is G66. Agrios. It says biblical usage: living or growing in the fields or woods, and of animals, wild, savage.
So it literally means wild. So it literally means what it says, right?
Yep. Literally, figuratively, wild.
Literally, it means natural.
Yeah, it does mean natural. But by looking at it in the Greek, that word wild, it means wild. Like it literally means what it says. It is focusing on it being natural. But he eats locust and wild honey. So because it's John the Baptist, we know the purpose of him coming here. He's girded just like Elijah was. He's hairy just like Elijah was, regardless if it's him that's hairy or he's wearing something hairy. Throughout the Bible, you'll see it doesn't matter, because when Jacob puts on the hairy skins of an animal, it was representing him being hairy as his brother. So it's the same thing. Smooth skin being covered by something that's hairy. And then it just so happens that when it describes John eating honey, it calls it a wild honey, right? And then just by the way he's dressed and all that, he's a wild man. But really, John the Baptist, the way he was, if you really study the way he's talked about, he was an alien to the world. Is what he was. And it's wild honey because it's not from this world. That's what it's referring to. The word is not from this world. We're in this world, but we're not of this world. So it's so crazy because it puts him outside, like he lives out in the desert, right? He's not of the world that everybody else is from, clearly. Just by the way he dressed, the stuff that it says he eats, that stuff happened for real. That man was really out there being that way, but his food was feeding people. That was his food. His food was portraying a message that was given to him from a young age. And it's just not a coincidence that he ate wild honey, which again it's alien. It's not of this world. And that's what the Bible says about all of us, that we're in this world, but we're not of this world. People are going to be so freaked out. It ain't going to last very long. But when your perspective changes and you're in heaven and you're going to be sitting next to people or seeing people that you may have known while you're here. But like I said, it's not going to last very long. Your mind is going to change away from this world to the new world that you're in so fast that the perspective is going to be so different. But I 1000% believe that there is going to be a very small time. I don't know how long that is. I don't know if it's 10 seconds, a minute, but there's going to be people that you'll see in heaven while you're trying to, convince your mind that, hey, all that other stuff is old. We're here now, and you might kind of be freaked out who you're with up there. I'm just being honest, man. After everything that I've studied, there's going to be some people looking like cows looking at a new gate. Like, how the heck did you get up here? How did you make it? How did this? But again, I don't believe it's going to last long. I don't know exactly how long that might last. But as far as sin and this world is considered, perspective will be so different that even the memories of this place will be a vapor in the wind, literally be like it never happened.
Because only Jesus will have memory of the sin, right, Trot?
Yeah, none of us will have memory of sin. None of us will. Well, as soon as our body lines up with our spirit, we will have no memory that we've ever done anything wrong, ever. The only thing that we'd be focused on is Jesus. We wouldn't be focused on anything else. So, like, we're going to know that he took sin from us, but you're not going to be able to sit there and be like, I remember that one time when I did that. I should have never. That will never happen. You will never have that. You'll just know for a fact that he was the one that you knew while you were separated, that he was the one beckoning you. Like, that part you'll remember. The part that he was calling you, that part will never be. This will not be time for testimony. People think they're going to go to heaven with their... I guarantee you try to tell Jesus about your Jason Voorhees story. He's going to tell you to go put your nose in the corner. What are you talking about? Bringing Satan up in here like I done kicked him out. You bringing him back. Let's see.
And we'll know that, we'll see the holes in his hands and feet and we'll be like, we don't know why, but we know what he did.
Yeah, no, we'll know why. We'll know that he took on sin. Like, we'll know that part will be known, but you having a memory of it, nope. That's what he's protecting.
Right, like, that's because I stole that candy bar that one time, right?
Or whatever the sin is. You're not going to have that right. Part is not going to be there. You're not going to be there in sorrow saying, "Oh, I feel so bad." He doesn't want you to feel bad. That's not the whole point.
People away our tears, right?
People think that that's the whole point. That's not the whole point. Not even close. All right. Dre, go ahead.
Before you get into I was going to ask, in Numbers 5, when it talks about the bitter waters, would that bitter water, would that woman kind of be a representation of us, in a way where, we produce seed? Does that kind of go in line with the fire and the works, and God will burn the works that don't? I don't know. I just kind of been thinking about that, and it's
did you say that woman?
Yeah. So the bitter water in Numbers 5, when the woman was possibly accused of committing adultery, they gave her the bitter water, and if she did commit adultery, her stomach swells, her thighs, she basically becomes barren.
Yeah.
And then, but if she bears a seed, then she's not an adulterer, right?
Yeah. Matter of fact, can we go over it? So, Jennifer, what are we going over today after we go over harnessing emotions?
Jennifer is not here. Let me drop down.
No, she's here. She's here. I just saw her make a comment. She's here.
She's down on the...
David's altar. That's right. Yeah. Let me get on with harnessing emotions. And we'll go over David's altar. I don't believe it's going to be very long. And then as soon as we're done with that, we'll talk about the woman in the bitter water. Matter of fact, have we ever talked about that on D-Scale, bro?
No, we haven't. Not that not in the past 3 years that I've been here. Going on 3 years, I haven't seen it.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Maybe
so
he taught CJ back in 1999, but he already
forgot. He said 1999. All right, hold on. Oh man, what did I do with mine? There it is.
I would have
brain tapper.
I would have been 5 years old.
He's out of
Brain
there.
tapper. I got almost got us to 100K. likes.
All right, guys, hey, can you go over there, sir? Guys, give me a second. I'll be right back. Bro.
I think I broke my toe, y'all.
Broke your toe? Oh, but okay, my brother like his toes, right? The whole wool and the linen. Is it also fair to say, like, Jesus said, he's gonna spit the lukewarm because it's neither hot, neither warm nor cold, right? And the wool tells me, okay, it's gonna make you hot, and then the linen in summertime, right? So hot and cold. What do you think, CJ?
I mean,
Yeah,
I
neither
don't know.
hot
I
nor
think you
cold.
have to. I think you have to repeat that one to try.
But I think that's logical. Because you're wearing summer clothes and winter clothes at the same time, like neither hot nor cold. Dre's dog is wild.
He's a little puppy. Come here, Blue. Yeah. Don't me, man. You can't box for God. What's wrong with you? You can't box for God.
That's cute.
Is that a red nose?
Yeah, he's a red nose.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that boy there's something else, man. Woo. He's so smart though. I will say he's a very smart dog. I have a chocolate lab. That dog is about as dumb as a bag of pennies. The worst dog I've had in my life. Um,
Who says that about a dog?
Where'd he go? Oh,
bro, I got kicked off the live somehow. I don't know how. I got like a thing that said like, how do you like the interaction with this live? I've never had that before.
look, the other
it's
day
like
I was up here and they made me do a puzzle like I was the host. It was the weirdest thing. And then I kept getting kicked.
Dang. Yeah, they're doing some wild stuff, aren't they? Because that never happened to me. He asked me, how did I like the live? I was about to say it's horrible, but I was like, I better not do that.
Get this one kicked too. Oh, jeez.
Maybe he kicked me because of the dog or something.
Maybe because you said it was box of pennies or bag of pennies.
They don't like pit bulls.
Oh man, they treat pit bulls like minorities.
Right, exactly.
I love my pit bull. He's a great dog.
I think they're the best, bro.
Honestly, they really are. I don't know why. Honestly, I don't understand why they get such a bad rap. Because they are really good dogs. They're very loyal. They're very kind, actually. A lot of people act like these pit bulls are like these criminals or something.
Yeah.
They're not. They're very loyal. They love their owners. They'll die for you. I mean, these dogs are amazing.
I agree.
This is the first one I ever had, and I'll probably never get another breed of dog, to be honest with you.
You know what I've been thinking about? I've been thinking about the shepherd dogs that help the shepherd.
What about them?
Sheepdogs, yeah.
Yeah, sheepdogs. And what can we learn from them, you know? Like, so who are they in the picture? Because we know that Jesus is shepherd, we are the sheep, right? Who are the sheepdogs?
What a sheepdog, you funny.
Please just get me out, bro.
No, bro, I need to know.
Oh, speaking of dogs and stuff like that, last night this guy came on my derailed live last night, and he was talking about Isaiah 66. I think it's Isaiah 66:11, where it talks about the lion and the lamb, and he's saying, like, if you look it up, Isaiah 66, was it? I think it's 66:11. It has to be Isaiah 66:11. It says, if you read it, it says the wolf shall lie with the wolf shall lie with the lamb. But I guess he was saying that it was changed, that initially it used to say the lion shall lay with the lamb. I don't know. I never even heard that argument before, but sometimes you hear some crazy stuff on these lives, bro.
Sometimes.
Well,
The carnal mind will twist anything, right, Dre?
no, that's not a twist. That's like literally like they're talking about like a literal change in the scripture.
Did you say Isaiah 66:11?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that's
That's why you don't get verses tattooed on you before you proofread them, bro. It
No,
says
I mean, I don't know
that
if
you
it's
may suck. No, hold on. It says that you may suck and be satisfied with the breast of her consolations, that ye may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory.
Jeez, give
I
him a
don't think
break.
that's
You got the wrong
good tattoo.
verse.
That's a good tattoo.
that's a good tattoo.
Guys, I
somebody
jumped
said-
in and all I heard was you say, Dre, you hear all this crazy stuff, so I thought somebody was twisting something. I apologize. I didn't hear the beginning of it.
No. Is it Bill, you in here? Because Bill was in that live getting cooked. Hold on, let me see. I'm going to look it up. Give me a second.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend Unveiled Eyes to go to Songs of Songs.
11:6. Sorry, Isaiah 11:6. CJ.
I got it. You got it.
Isaiah 11:6. It was initially the guy was saying like initially it used to say the lion and the lamb, and now it says the wolf shall lie with the lamb. So he's saying like there was a corruption. I never in my life heard that. I always heard the lion and the lamb, but I didn't think it was like a Bible verse that says the lion and the lamb. I just thought Jesus is the lion and is the lamb, but I'd never seen a Bible verse.
It says he was
It says it says the wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them.
My bad. Yeah, so that dude was saying that verse was actually changed. That it used to say lion and the lamb, and they changed it to the wolf and the lamb. But
Yeah, I think I heard that too,
never in my
Trey.
life have I heard that. This guy just said that out of the blue. I've always known Jesus to be the lion and the lamb. It didn't say the lion shall lay with the lamb.
Yeah, it does say lion in the verse though, so that's why
So, Trot,
I would
what
be
do you
like,
think?
well,
What's the question?
Yeah, so on my derailed live last night, this guy came up there and he was like, "You guys have lied to Isaiah 11:6 used to say the lion and the lamb, and people have changed it. Now it says the wolf shall lie with the lamb." That was the argument.
I don't get
I've
the
seen
point.
that
What's the
before. He came on
point?
mine too.
What's the point though?
That it used to say the lion and the lamb,
Uh-huh.
and now it says the wolf and the lamb.
No, but what's the point? That
That is the point.
I don't understand the point he's making. The point he's making is what?
Changed.
Huh?
That it changed. That it changed.
Okay, so let's say that it did change. I still don't get his point.
Well, you know, it's the you know how that is, man. That's how the people argue against Christianity or whatever in the Bible. They'll say, "Look, it's corrupted." You see,
How did that corrupt something?
because Jesus is the lion, not a wolf. The wolf is supposed to be something bad, not something good. So he's saying the wolf is supposed to say the lion and the lamb, not the wolf and lamb.
Yeah, but again, like this person, first of all, he's not going to believe that Jesus is the lamb anyway. So according to him, I still don't get his point. Like,
no, he does believe that. He does believe.
So it's so this is a Christian.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. Sure.
So a Christian that believes that the Bible is corrupted.
Yeah, so it's a lot of Christians like that. They believe that there's certain things. Well, we know there are certain things that were added and put in parentheses and stuff like that. So he's just saying like that's one of those things that's just like people have made stuff up. That's what his whole.
Oh, yeah. Well, I always say I don't get the point. Like, because I don't care what they're trying to say. I still don't get their point because the whole Bible still points to Christ. Nothing was changed. As far as the gospel is concerned, the gospel hasn't been changed. So, like, it's pointless, that kind of argument, you know. But I'm sure they I'm sure they catch a lot of fish like that. Look, don't be a Christian. Why? Because this word right here. Oh, Lord have mercy. All right. Let's see. Where are we at? I don't remember exactly where I left off, but it ain't going to be wrong to go over. It has to be. I had to have been around victory. Yeah. So one of the last points I know that I spoke about yesterday was, you know. You have, because again, we're talking about harnessing emotions. We talked about spirit, soul, and body. We're talking about harnessing emotions, which is very important because people to this day still act like, you know, that it's okay to choose to have negative emotions, not even feel guilty about choosing those negative emotions, but then they beg God to take away these negative emotions, not realizing that they're the ones that chose those emotions to begin with, right? So one of the things that I was using is, you know, nobody wakes up, looks in the mirror, and is like, hey, Lord, today, you know, could you please max me out like to the max of like depression in Jesus' name. Like, you don't hear nobody praying for that. But then when you're around them, you're like, they had to have prayed for that today, you know, because that's exactly what they got. And you know what? The Bible says that you have not if you ask not. So, Lord, I pray that today I am maxed out in depression. And, you know, I want to be limited out on how depressed and sad I can be today. You know, and they'll say, well, I didn't pray for that. It just happened. And you're like, okay, then you're misunderstanding because things don't just happen. Your emotions don't just happen. You choose them. You choose your emotions. And you had to have, hold on.
Yeah, when you were teenagers, did you ever put like sad music when you were sad to become more sad?
Yep. Did that for a long time. Angry music when you're angry.
It don't show 100K on my side.
And then all of a sudden, people wonder why it takes so long to dig themselves out of the hole.
It shows 19.
And on that playlist,
You don't see. I'm sorry, y'all don't see the 100K likes up there?
No, Breezy, it says
19 on my end, bro. 19.1.
Bro, what?
Yeah.
They lied to you.
Yeah. Hey,
there is a TikTok update.
Hold on a second. Who's doing that? 100,000 likes or whatever. Who is that?
Me.
Okay, Breezy, give it 10 minutes. Like, let it rest. See if it adds up. If it doesn't, that means every person only gets like 10 or 15,000 then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just let it, like, don't you personally don't do nothing. Like, just let it Let's give it 5 or 10 minutes to see if it catches up.
Okay.
Yeah, Breezy, I was on Bishop's Live the other day, and I tapped and got up to like, I don't know, probably 40K. And on his side, I was only showing 4K. But it's like just one, I think it's 10K per person. Something like that. They changed it. It ain't like it used to be.
Watch, I'm finna send this to your phone. I'm finna send this to your phone.
Oh, the same thing with Brooks. He was like, what in the world? I believe you. Believe me, I know.
All right. All right, let's see.
It could be time too, Breezy.
Yeah,
so
that
like in an hour or so, if we're still on here and it's not like if it is 15K, try again and see if you can get another 15K in an hour.
Yeah. All right, guys, can y'all quit talking about the cheap tapper, Breezy? I need you to get somebody's number, and y'all need to talk about that offline. All right.
So, Trot, you're saying that like it's just as much as you choose to listen to your flesh or your spirit. The same thing with your emotions. You choose your emotions.
Yeah, that's why I decided to talk about harnessing emotions after spirit, soul, and body. Right. So if anybody, which I'm sure the majority of people here were here for at least half of spirit, soul, and body, if you can start talking about harnessing your emotions after spirit, soul, and body, it helps because we just went over that you have a choice to either your soul can either stare at the flesh or it can look at the proper mirror, which is the Christ in you. And little by little, you will start becoming what you know that you already are. Like you'll start walking that out because you can see that that's actually who you are, right? You don't need an outer appearance law to tell you what you need to do. No, you already are that thing. That's why it says it's written on your heart. It's not the same thing, not even a little bit. Your physical body is not trying to be good. Your spirit, which is the true, the deepest part of you, the root of you, it's already good. So you don't need something in this world with your physical eyes. You don't need something that your physical eyes has to read to somehow change the inside of you to be good. It will never happen. Your physical eyes is not going to help you be good. No. Understanding that you already are the thing is what's going to help you be good. That's why it says it's the goodness of God that leads to repentance. The goodness of God is he already made you as his son is, which is the law. Jesus is the law, but not in the sense that you have to obey it. No. You already are it. You're just not walking it out. And people aren't walking it out because they don't understand this. That is the issue. The issue is not sin. The issue is people are not understanding who they already are. They don't. That is the problem. And people today still think that they need to give you a paper that is telling you what you need to stop doing. And that's not true. That's the complete opposite of why Christ came. He came to show you that he's the thing and you need him. So if he's the thing and you need him, I don't need him and some other outer appearance thing. It's not true, okay? When you tell someone that they need the outer appearance thing, it's very easy to fall into that outer appearance thing. Why? Because with your physical eyes and your five senses, it is so much easier. Why do you think people say, I can't wait to see God? Man, when that day happens, when we see him, they're coming from a perspective of the fallen world. You're not going to see him like that. You're not going to see him with your physical eye. It's not like that. You're not going to see him like that. And the Bible tells us this in so many ways. That's why he vanished before the two people in Emmaus. He vanished before their physical sight. Why? Because deep down they knew who he was. And that's it. That's how you see him. You see him by faith. You don't see him by this physical sight. The law is not by faith. Your physical eyes cannot use faith to see the law. You physically see it. But the faith that lives on the inside of us You don't see it with your physical eyes. So you have to believe that's what you are by faith, not by physically seeing it. So, but that becomes the issue, doesn't it? That you're trying to transition from being so used to doing everything in the physical regarding God that now we do everything in the spiritual. And so it's hard for people to transition from physical to spiritual when 90% of what they do is based on the physical. You'll be arguing with these people all day long, right? But, you know, like I was saying the other day, you know, experiencing this victory, right? Like in both spirit, soul, and body, and harnessing your emotions, you know, you're just going to have to get rid of the lie that we have no authority over them. You do. You have all the authority, whether you choose to be in the spirit or not, right? Whether you choose to use an emotion that is of the spirit or of the flesh. Emotions is a choice, right? They are not just, you know, something that happens to us like a chemical reaction, like we have no ability to control it. And that's what some people want you to believe. They want you to believe that they had no control over what they just did. They'll say, I couldn't help it. He made me mad. And you're like, oh, you couldn't help it. So they literally make you think that your stomach's full of vinegar and this person came at you, opened your mouth and threw baking soda in there. And then all of a sudden you became this human volcano for 10 minutes.
My heifer?
All right, guys, just give me a second. Sorry.
Let me see that. Hunt it.
Yeah, I don't think you realize that what Breezy's got actually is sold on a TikTok shop. Uh-huh.
It is all sold on the TikTok shop, guys.
All right, we could talk about TikTok shop, but let's not talk about what Breezy has. Please. All right, let's see. All right, where is I at? Yeah. So, and I'm telling you, this is how people try to make you believe, or this is how they've been taught, that they have no control over their emotions. If they act out an emotion, it's like their stomach is full of vinegar. You know, the person ran up to them, opened their mouth, threw baking soda in there, and now there's this chemical reaction, and it's their fault. They literally are saying that they had part of the chemical, but I would have been just fine if they wouldn't have came over here and threw baking soda in my stomach. That is how ridiculous that sounds. That somehow a chemical reaction took place between you and what this other person did. That is a freaking lie. That's not true. And when you think things like this, you will act out more, because now you have taught yourself that when you feel what you feel, you just go with what you feel. That's what you're teaching yourself. And nothing could be further from the truth. It is a complete lie. It's not even a little bit true. You can control it. Now, if we talk about, is it hard to control it? And sometimes we go with the anger, or sometimes we go with the sadness. Fine, but be consistent with your answer. Be consistent that it's hard. Man, I tried. It was just so hard. And you ask that person, are you in control of your thoughts and your feelings? Yeah. Okay, well, at least they're on a healthy roll. At least the healthiness of the understanding is at least there. I'm telling you, I have met people, they will not even agree with you a little bit. They think that what you're saying is a lie, and you can't control it. When you're mad, you're just mad. And then whatever choice they make, they rationalize it and try to tell everybody that they didn't do anything wrong. And that's when we have a problem right there. You 100% have a problem when you can't even admit that you did something wrong. I would rather, especially in combat or any of that, I would rather have someone that would tell me they know they made the wrong choice and they're working on it. I would rather have someone tell me that than someone tell me, oh, it wasn't my fault. That idea, it wasn't my fault, that is a scary thing, because that's the person that will do something very dumb and they'll try to cover it up and you never knew it happened. I mean, all you got to do is think about, you own a business and somebody was, let's say they were playing around in the back and they busted a water pipe and they try to figure out how to stop the water themselves. And let's say they got the water stopped, but bro, it's still broken. And you have this weird leak back there and it's like, 1,000 gallons a day is leaking out of this, but because of where it's at, it's just sinking into the ground. And you can't even tell that there's well, guess what? 2-3 months go by and they're like, man, why is our water bill so high? And that person don't even work there anymore. That person don't even work. You done fired them for something else and they never admitted to that. And now you got a bigger problem on your hand. It is more scary to hang out with someone that just cannot admit they're wrong. It is way more scary. I would rather be around someone that makes mistakes and comes right up to me like, hey, I know I'm probably fired, but we busted a water pipe back there. Really? Let me see. And now I can fix it. See, I understand that this person did something dumb. I get it. But at least they came and told me, and I don't have to wait however much longer. It's just going to make the problem worse. And me personally, I have learned, there's been times where, some of my guys, when I was overseas, kind of did some things they probably shouldn't have done. And they came right up to me, like, hey, this and this happened. I'm like, where at? Man, I write the grid down, time, everything. I write it all down and I go up my chain of command. I say, hey, we had this incident happen, and everyone knows. And you know what? Sometimes nothing comes out of it. Like nothing happened. Nobody brought it up. Other times it gets brought up and then some big rank comes down to where we're at and be like, hey, I need to talk about what happened. Hey, guess what? Whoever's in charge of me, the next person in charge, they got the whole thing right there. Say, yeah, look, they came up to me this day, this time, and they told me that this is probably going to be an issue. Okay, well, what happened? Well, I already know. Let me go call them. And everybody already knows. Nobody's hit, right? Nobody's getting right or left flanked out of nowhere and, have to react to contact. We don't, you don't want to have to react to contact. We already know it's coming. So it's just like that. It's okay to be a person that you fall into mistakes, but you can admit like, okay, yeah, obviously that was dumb. That shouldn't have happened. And what I'm pointing out is there are people that don't do that. And I've met them, hundreds of them. And so right now we're talking about harnessing emotions. There are people, they will tell you you're lying. There's no such thing, harnessing emotions. There's people out there. And then there's people that they hear this truth and they say to themselves, wait a minute, that is true. What that person is saying is true. You can control it, but no one's ever told them. Right. And so you have to, if you want radical changes in people's lives, you have to tell them something radical. And if the truth is radical, then, oh, well, it's still true, regardless if it's radical to them or not. Right. So we have the ability to control our emotions. We're not like animals. OK, that they just respond to their environment. Right. If you take an animal from its environment and you just keep walking to it and try to like corner it between trees, eventually in a very quick moment, it is going to realize, oh, this thing's coming to get me, whatever you are. And you're either going to start getting hissed at, it's going to start stomping its foot on the ground. It's letting you know, hey, buddy, you think you just going to come at me like that? I tried to get away from you. Now it's about to go down. See, but they are going off just instinct. But at the same time, you're forcing them to go off instinct. Okay. And that's a little different. And I get that. But an animal, when it smells like the opposite sex, right, that it's time to mate, bro, 90% of animals, they just reproduce based on instinct. It's just instinct. And yeah, it's true. Like dolphins and some other animals, they say that they have relations for fun. I get that. I understand that. But most animals, things that they do, it's based on instinct. In the 90s, the 90 percentile. And we're not just animals. So we don't just get mad and then on instinct, we're like, oh, let me do this. No. We have a choice. We don't have to do this or do that. You don't have to, right? So we are, people that were created in the image of God who have the power of choice. And that power was given to us by God to have choice. And we can go to Deuteronomy 30. Somebody go to Deuteronomy 30. 19. Deuteronomy 30:19. Who's got it? Let me know who's got it.
Got it. All right. 30:19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life.
Yeah, he makes it very simple. I set before you life, death, blessing, and cursing, and then he gives you the answer. Choose life, by the way. Hey, if you didn't know which one of these you should choose life. Like, hey, Adam, of all the trees you can eat, don't eat from that tree. He shouldn't had to have told Adam, hey, Adam, this tree, we're going to call this tree death. All the other trees, you can eat from them. By the way, this one's called life. Hey, don't eat from this one. He could have easily said, hey, out of the two trees in the midst, choose life. Isn't that saying the same thing? Hey, out of the two trees in the midst, don't eat death. He literally said, if you eat this one, you'll die. He could have just said, hey, this is life and death. Don't eat from that tree. It's the same thing. The same thing is being presented to us again. And if people are confused about the midst, let me ask you this. As you walk around this earth, doesn't it seem like death and life are in the midst of you? Like you could choose either? Doesn't it seem that way? I wonder why. I wonder why it seems as though both are in the midst. Both of them are in the midst of you. Jesus is always in the midst in the Bible. And every once in a while, you'll see something that's in the midst with Jesus. But guess what? It's not Jesus. But if it's in the midst of you, if there's two things in the midst of you, what do you think that is? That's life and death in the midst. You have a choice. You can look at your flesh or you can look at your spirit. It's your choice, right? So, Deuteronomy 30:19 makes it very clear that we have authority over our emotions through Jesus Christ. And it's up to you, but I think it's time for whomever. It's 100% time for you to start taking control of your feelings. At some point, you have to start recognizing that this is true, right? So, man, I had another verse right here. All right, I'm sure it's further down. I thought I was going to go over right now, but if someone is, hateful, towards us or comes against us, it's normal to feel hurt and rejected. That's normal. That the idea that I'm being rejected or I feel hurt, like everyone's dealt with that, right? And that's natural for a human to respond that way. But you don't have to live under control of the natural. We can live under the control of the supernatural. That's the whole point of us going over this, because it's your choice. You have control over that. if you're born again and Jesus Christ has changed you on the inside, right? Which going over spirit, soul, and body, we've made that very clear that on the inside, which is in the spirit, that's where the change occurred, right? So if that's true for you and you're born again, then you have the ability to supersede natural law. The ability is in the spirit. So it should already be understood, right? You can bring your emotions under spiritual dominion, which is through Christ, or under the physical dominion, which is of this world, right? So let's see. Man, every time I touch this thing, it flies.
Well, how do we like the Peter, right? I mean, I think deep down inside I already know, but I want to hear you teach on this. Like the Peter, right? He's saying like denying Jesus, and then 3 times after that, and then he's like, "Oh no, I just like." He wakes up and he's like, "Wow, he had told me, and I did." So it's like he forgot, right, to make the right choice. So because I found that in my life too, like. I know that I can choose the right emotion, but I forgot and picked the wrong emotion. But of course, that's getting better and better with walk with Christ, right? Is it because we are not acknowledging the Christ, or is it because we're growing in acknowledging Christ in our spirit and all that?
No, it's well, yeah, that's true, but it's because when someone just starts learning this, it's seed time and harvest. That's why. Because there's people, you first try to teach them spirit, soul, and body, harnessing your emotions, and someone is still falling into the wrong emotion. It's only because you haven't fully renewed your mind to that truth yet. That's why. So, some people, it could take 5 to 10 years. It just depends on how long throughout the day you're meditating on this. I tell people all the time, the quicker you want this to start happening, that's again, it's your choice. That's on you. God is not going to make it grow faster because you tell him to. That's not how it works. You yourself have to meditate over this truth. So again, this just goes all the way back that you have the choice. So if you see someone growing faster than you are, there's no easy way to say this. That's your fault. God is not appreciating another human more than you. It just means that person is digging into that truth and they want to know it more. So they put more time and effort into it. You cannot just be a sloth, a lazy person, sit on the sidelines and just think that this is going to be rooted in you all on its own because you heard it. No, it's just going to be head knowledge. And what's going to end up happening in a short...
Does that go back to Cain and Abel then?
Huh?
Does that go back to Cain and Abel then?
How?
When God came to Cain, he said, "Why hast thou countenance fallen?" I can't. I got to get my Bible. I'm not going to misquote the verse, but that's what Cain did. He was mad. Hold on.
Well, just get to your point. You don't have to read it. What's the point you're making?
Well, that Cain was mad and acting like God loved Abel more, and God comes to him. He's like, "No, will not this all be added unto you? Like, why are you upset?" Like,
well, we can say that plays a part in it, but I wouldn't use that as an example right now, because right now we're talking about how you can control it. So God is proven the way he's talking to Cain that he can control it. So that part's true. But whether Cain understood if he can control it or not, obviously again, whether Cain knew he can control it or not, he chose not to. So all it does is prove that he had a choice, right? But that's the entire Bible. The entire Bible is showing this to be true, right? So me personally, I don't believe that, God intends for us to live, by what the natural world dictates, right? So this is a fundamental, right, foundation difference between, biblical emotional stability and secular psychological stability, right? It's two different things, because psychology does not factor God into the equation, right? So, when I was studying both secular and religious psychology, when I was studying that, one thing I found to be true is the secular world of psychology, they do not factor God into it. They don't. You know what they factor? Your physical feelings. That's what they factor into it. They just factor, and they use their flesh to do the math, to factor in what it is about you physically that makes you do what you do. God's not there. Right. So
they never stop missing.
Yeah, I'll say something about
it. They always say, how does that make you feel?
Yeah. And listen, again, it's okay to talk about, like, when you're telling someone, well, how does that make you feel? Well, that makes me feel, it's okay to do that. But with that, you have to factor in God and say, let me ask you this. So that makes you feel mad? Yes. Okay. Could you choose to feel different? If you were to ask that question, well, no, I can't choose to. It makes me mad. And bro, these people could be 40 years old. So when a certain color won, not too long ago, bro, the videos that these people made, if they only knew that they could harness that and they don't have to act that way, and they'll say, well, I know that. They may know it in a head knowledge, but they don't believe it, because if you believe that you could control that, you would not allow your body to act like that. Some of these people acted like they were demon possessed. Like some of the stuff. It's like, bro, like you can't control yourself even a little bit, right?
And it's like fair to say that choosing negative feelings is rooted in like pride, isn't it?
Well, for every person, it's different. There's going to be people that act out foolishly because they're in pride. There's going to be people that act out foolishly because they don't know how to forgive, that they're very unforgiving. So, but I will say this, all of it, whether it's pride, unforgiveness, all of it comes back to one root, right? Which is selfishness, right?
Yeah,
it all comes back to self, all of it, right? Self-centeredness, we'll put it that way, right? When a person is being self-centered, they're going to be prideful. When a person is being self-centered, they're going to be unforgiving. When a person is self-centered, so all of it, that they have a root of self-centeredness, and self-centeredness is the root to all grief, right? So if you were to take a tree and just put self-centeredness, you write that on the root of this tree, every fruit that comes off this tree, all of it is going to be grief. All of it. All of it may be in a different form of grief, right? It could be divorce. It could be unaliving someone, stealing. But all this stuff will lead to grief in your life. So pride will be a fruit of it. So yeah, pride is, but the root is self-centeredness, right? Because in order for you to be a certain way, somehow you put yourself in it. And every time you do that, you'll be like Saul of Tarsus, kind of kicking against the pricks, knowing that there's a truth out there, but you're just fighting it, So, but like I said, even psychology, as good as they may do in the physical world, they do not factor in God, right? And even the word psychology itself comes from the root word, which is psych. I think it's just psych, by psych. I think it's just psych. I think it's just psych, by itself. And I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but it is spelled, the PSY, and I think it's CH or CHE or something, but Siche, psych. But, and that's a Greek deity, right? The God of the soul, is kind of like, this is where they get the word psychology from, right? And psychology deals with the emotional and mental realm, right? It doesn't take into account, the spiritual man. It tries to solve problems from like a purely natural, physical standpoint. And so that's why you start getting into a problem that when you're kind of practicing psychology in a way by using the law that is telling you that you naturally have to be good. So again, the physical law is not what's going to cause you to be good, because if your spirit man is dead, it'll never happen, right? So we have to be born again. And by be born again, we are going to act out what we already are. Your spirit is not looking at Moses' law like, I need to do what that says. No, it's already it. You don't do what that says. You're doing it already every day on the inside of you. You already became that. So when someone is being good, they'll say, oh, they're good because they're obeying the law. No. People are good because they know deep down inside of them, because they've been born again, that this is who I'm going to be. This, not obey what that says so I can be good. No. You're naturally going to act that out because it's already who you are. Right. But, the other approach for, like psychology is humanism, right? So it's like, in other words, we humans, we have all the answers within ourselves and we don't need God. So that's kind of the humanism side, right? They say, oh, we just have to find the inner man on the inside of us, right? And that is, according to humanistic philosophy. Now we start getting into philosophy. You have the philosophy, the psychology, and they're both trying to attack like this, like there's this truth that we need to figure out, but they're focused on carnality only, right? So the answer to our problems is not found in the spiritual part of us, but in the mental and emotional part. And that's totally wrong. Philosophy and psychology is 100% paying attention to everything around us on the outside, and they're not focused on God at all, right? So God created mankind in his likeness and in his image, and that those things are spiritual, right? That's in Genesis 1, but God created us to be dependent upon him. He did not create us to be standalone people, right? So, we must be in relationship and in communion with him to be spiritually healthy, right? So all of our problems began when we separate ourselves from God and began to do our own thing and make our own decisions, right? That's when all the corruption came into the world, right? So psychology does not recognize that truth. So psychology is not recognizing that because of, Adam and Eve, the garden, they're not recognizing any of that, right? Based on, purely, secular principles, it doesn't see God as, the force of life with the power to overcome and change emotions. Instead, psychology tries to bring about solutions through manipulation in the physical. That is what they're focused on, right? So like, the emotional realm of the mind. That is different from the way Christians are supposed to operate, right? We should not accept natural things as being normal. It is natural, right, for me to be hurt when someone treats me unfairly, right? Everybody understands that, but But as a Christian, I'm not just natural anymore. And that's the truth that you have to meditate on, that you're no longer just a natural being, right? So, me personally, I have been born again, right? And you should be saying that to yourself, that you're not just natural. You've been born again, and 1/3 of me is wall-to-wall Holy Ghost. I now have God himself living on the inside of me. I'm not, limited to natural resources. I have the divine supernatural ability of God on the inside of me. And, it would just be plain stupid of me not to draw on God's power, and to only look at things as they are, just naturally. As Christians, we're not to look at unbelievers around us to see how they are living and expect that the same thing, expecting what they're doing and kind of transitioning that to ourselves. God has done a miraculous thing personally in my life, and if you're born again, God has done the same thing for you, right? So you have to start being accountable for your own emotions. So somebody go to Philippians 4 and read 6 and 7.
Yeah, he's our official reader, but that's my favorite verse. One of my favorites.
Who's reading?
Nina.
Somebody.
I got it. Philippians 4, 1 and what?
Philippians 4, 6 and 7. Philippians 4, 6 and 7.
Oh, 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Got it. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made unto God, and the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus.
Sorry, I'm just kind of looking over some.
I was like, did you hear me?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, there's some people that I haven't followed on the Trot account, and I'm trying to follow them now. So if I don't get to you, I apologize. Yeah, but just by reading that alone, right? We are accountable for our emotions, right? God has given us the ability to control this area of our lives. Right here is one part where it says, but in everything, and it says everything pray in supplication, giving thanksgiving. And it says, and the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. It says, and the peace of God, which passeth all understanding. But you have to choose that peace, right? So, again, God has given us the ability to control this area. If he didn't, he would be unjust to bring judgment on us for having negative emotions. He'd be unjust. Just like we went over in Deuteronomy yesterday, the reason that he brought a bad judgment on his own people is because of their emotions. He said, because you have not kept your joyfulness on me, he said. Literally was telling them, basically, because you didn't have good emotions towards me. That's literally what he told them. And that's what I'm saying. He would be unjust. But the reason that he's just to punish them, the reason he was just to punish them is because you can control it. You can control your emotions, right? He would be unjust to command us to do something that we cannot do, right? To react positively to a negative experience of this life, that would just have to be true. And so, John 14, I think we read that yesterday. The Lord doesn't expect us to have positive emotions only when everything is going our way, right? John 16, right? Jesus tells his disciples, he says, I don't want to paraphrase it. Can somebody read it? John 16, 33.
I have ESV here, but Nina.
Yeah, I got it. John 16:33.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mine goes to John 16:28.
Oh, did I write the wrong verse down? Hold on, maybe I wrote.
Yeah, I'm like, am I wrong?
No, I probably wrote the wrong verse down. Hold on, let me go to it.
Okay.
Or somebody help me find it. It's where he's saying that you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. Somebody help me find that verse, if you don't mind. I thought it was John 16.
Yeah. It's John 16:33.
Yeah, what are you talking about? John 16? Yours don't go to 33, Nina?
Absolutely not. It goes 27, 28, and then right to 17.
What book is that? What Bible is that?
KJV.
Mine has 33 in it.
Yeah, mine has 33 too.
Why is mine out?
I don't know. See, you keep going to the stores, they give you free Bibles.
Listen, I've been reading this Bible the whole time. I promise I am.
What's the last verse? 16 what? What's the last verse you got there?
Verily I say
No. What number? What number is the last verse?
28.
28? John 16:28. Read it.
Oh, I'm in Matthew.
I knew it.
Sorry.
I knew it.
I told you.
I knew it.
Sorry, y'all.
Hey, you ate that good pizza last night, boy.
Just love me anyways. God.
We are. We're going to, hey, it doesn't say don't give him a hard time. It just says love you anyways. We're going to give you a hard time anyways. Hey, that's going to be our new quote. Hey, just give him a hard time anyways.
Okay, give it to me again. John.
All right, John 16:33.
Got it. I'm there now.
All right.
Okay. These things
Bro, listen, that already is.
Read it. Read.
These things I have spoken unto you, that in me you may have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world.
Yeah. So, again, he's saying, and we should have went over this yesterday, where he's talking about to be in good cheer even while tribulation is happening, right? So we are facing trials and tribulation. We are commanded to be of good cheer in the midst of that, right? Because Jesus has overcome the world. So, the Lord has given us the power to control our emotional reaction to whatever comes against us. It should be very clear that when people are saying that because of this hard circumstance, they're justified to feel this way. Well, he just gave us a command right here. He says, ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. He didn't say, I know it's going to be hard, but if you can, keep your head up. That's not what he says. He says, be of good cheer, but he gives you the answer. I have overcome the world. Meaning if you're focused on what I did, no matter what's happening while you're here, you'll be of good cheer. Meaning that you can control it. You have a choice, right? You don't have to react negatively with emotions because a circumstance is just not in your favor. You don't have to, right? Our emotional stability should not, depend upon our circumstances or how things are going. God's kind of peace is based totally upon him, not you. It's just a matter of keeping our eyes stayed on him and walking in faith. So if we can access the supernatural power and ability of God. You know, it doesn't matter what's going on in the physical realm. It should not matter in the physical realm what's going on if this type of choice is supernatural. The physical doesn't matter. You know, many people will think, you know, if I could just change my mate, I'm telling you, that's not the answer. But that's what people will say because they're living their life based on feelings, right? If I could just change my mate, meaning the person that I'm with, the man or woman, whoever it is I'm married to, my mate, if I can change my mate, you know, if my kids weren't rebellious, now all of a sudden, if you didn't have rebellious kids, life would be better. If I had a better partner, life would be better. If I had a different job, life would be better. If I had more money, life would be better. You know, if this or that or the other, then I would have emotional happiness. That is a complete lie. Somewhere along the way, someone has come into your life and lied to you, boy, and you just took that bait. You're the fish in the water on a hook, and you don't even know it. You've been hooked. Life is not about my life would be better if all these things. No. You need to learn how to harness your emotions. You are your problem. Not everybody else. You're it. Your problem is right between your ears. You need to get rid of your stinking thinking. That's the problem. Your stinking thinking is the problem. Your flesh is the issue. If you've been here through spirit, soul, and body, then you should know at this point you have a choice. You're either going to listen to your spirit or you're going to listen to your flesh. And if your flesh is telling you, oh, woe is me, life is life. If that is what your flesh is doing, you need to turn to your spirit and start using your supernatural love and peace that God has already given you. You need to start learning how to do this. Stop hearing the physical negative, and then you just automatically just take that as the answer, and then the rest of your life, you look like you just got dragged out of a swamp. You look like someone Donald Trump just fired. Like, that's what you look like. You know, the reason you're looking that way is because you've allowed circumstances to dictate how you feel. Would you say Himalaya with orange? Yeah, now you got orange hair. Yeah, now you look like him, you know. But the thing is, it's a complete lie to believe that if you had different kids, different job, different mate. No, I'm telling you, you're the problem. You haven't learned how to harness your emotions. If you can learn how to harness your emotions, you wouldn't say, if I had a different mate. You know what you would say? I'm going to love my mate anyway. That's what you would say, because you're going to choose the emotion of love over the emotion of self-centeredness. And people will say self-centeredness is not an emotion. I'm telling you right now, self-centeredness is an emotion. It just comes in different forms, but it is 100%. If I had a different job, no. If you knew how to harness your emotions, you would make that job the best job you ever had. It's your choice. It's your choice. If I had more money, no, money's not your problem, because you can give people lots of money and they're still sad and still unhappy. There's been people that are literally millionaires and they're not in debt. Like, yeah, they may have a mortgage, some credit cards, but I'm saying they actually do have millions of dollars in the bank and they unalive themselves all the time. Look, the only thing that changes with money is kind of like the groups of people you hang out with. That's it. But the same problems hit everybody, right? But it's a lie that if I had this, if I had that, things would be better. If you haven't learned how to harness your emotions, what do you think's going with you to this new job, this new mate, different kids, different type of money? What do you think's going? If you haven't learned to harness your emotions now, you're not going to learn how to harness your emotions when these new things are there. So it has nothing to do with if I had this or if I had that. It's a complete lie. And the sad thing is Satan uses, this kind of a lie. Satan uses that lie to keep people in the mess that they're in, instead of just totally surrendering and saying, God, help me. The devil keeps people thinking, man, if this situation would just change, everything will be all right. It's him that continues you to think this way, but it's not true. It's not our circumstances, that are the problem. It's all I do with somebody go to Psalm 139:8. Who's gonna read it? Don't read it right now. Just let me know when who's gonna find it or who's looking for it.
I got it.
All right, so I'll let you know when to read it. But Psalms 39:8, that's for anyone that's trying to figure out what verse we're gonna read next. Right, but so it's not our circumstances that's the problem. All right. It is how we are reacting to the cause of the circumstances that is causing us to grief about it. So there's always going to be circumstances, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they are that the circumstances is not a factor. Obviously there is a factor there, but what I'm saying is Satan uses them against us. But we can overcome all these things. Go ahead and read Psalm 139:8.
Says, if I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there.
All right. Sorry, I'm trying to. Yeah, so wherever you are and whatever you're going through, God is there. Just one verse alone proves that. There's many others that tell us this truth, right? It doesn't matter what your situation is. You may be, in a in a living hell, by the way you're looking at it. But you may be in a living hell, but if your mind is focused on God and the great things that he's done for you, you can have joy and peace in the midst of that situation. Everybody here knows you can go back and you can look at dozens of horrible situations that you were in, whether they worked out in your favor or not. Do you know one thing you can say? I'm not crying about it anymore. So the truth is, ask yourself, was it worth crying about then? If you're still not crying about that sad thing that happened 5, 10, 15 years ago, just think for a second. You cried about it then. Why are you not? Honestly, who can say? And and it could be on the panel. It could be in the. Who went through something hard? I'm saying hard. Like if you were to sit down, first of all, we're not doing that here. You can go cry yourself a river. We're not doing that here. I want to get straight to the jugular. Who here, whether in the comments or in the chat, hold on. Who here, whether it be 5, 10, or 15 years, went through something horrific? And if you were to break down that horror story, you can have all of us crying in 5 minutes. Who?
I got you.
Okay, so just without going through the whole spiel, what was the problem?
Older brother passed away on my birthday, high school.
While you're in high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bro. That's not easy. Well, the point is, everybody here, if I was to say, okay, in 5, 10, or 15 years, who here went through like this horror? Bro, maybe not all of us, but the majority of us in the 90 percentile can talk about one thing that was hard. Okay, right. So now, in CJ's case, there's someone that he'll never see again. So he can say to himself, well, that will always be hard. But the one thing he can do is he can look back and say, even though that's not easy, am I still like shutting down life because that happened? CJ, did you shut life down after that happened?
Yeah, right after, yeah.
Yeah. And how long has it been though now?
12 years.
12 years? Okay. Should you still be shutting life down?
Definitely not.
No. Would your brother want you to shut life down because of that?
No.
No. Is it a hard circumstance? Duh. Ain't nobody going to say that's not hard, but you don't shut life down. But at the time that something happens, you can be very tempted to shut life down. But when you look back, you can ask yourself, okay, where did shutting my life down get me? And the truth is, it doesn't get you anywhere. Now, the Bible says to mourn with them who mourn. So you mourn with them. But I'm telling you right now, shutting down everything. I know people that lost family members, and I'm telling you, bro, their life, they lost their job. They weren't able to pay their house. They lost everything after this person was unalived. And now here we are, 5, 10, maybe even 15 years later, and they look back and they cannot believe that they allowed that to go that far. They can't believe it. And they will tell you they didn't know how to harness their emotions. That's how hard it was for them. It was so hard what they went through that they literally allowed themselves just to spiral down in life. And a lot of times that's because they don't believe they have control over their emotions. They don't believe it. So they allow their emotions to take them wherever they want. And so that's why it's vital that you understand that you do have control over this, right? You can have joy in the and peace, by the way, just like what we read about, but you can have joy and peace in the midst of that situation, right? There's literally thousands of examples in God's word, of everything. Me personally, that joy and peace can reign in the midst of a terrible circumstance. So there's a hard time that's going to come to all of us in the next 5, 10, 15 years. It's going to come. And if you know how to harness your emotions, you 100% will be able to reign in the peace of God that lives in your spirit, which we just went over, going over spirit, soul, and body. But that peace can come out into this world and in the midst of a horrible circumstances, and you can reign, just like the Bible says. The Bible makes it very clear that God wants you to reign. It's so clear, And if you're honest, right, you can look back over your life and remember times that in the natural, things seem to be falling apart, just like CJ gave an example, and I saw a bunch of hands in the comments, right? But even though things seem to be falling apart, when you turn to God and called out to Him, the Lord gave you the peace that passes all understanding. It's a supernatural peace. It's not from this world. Somebody read Philippians 4, 6, and 7. I think we've read that a few times, but I want to go over it again. Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Who's looking it up?
Nina? Or Breezy?
Anybody? No? Nobody?
Okay, I'll go then. Philippines.
My bad. I thought I was off of mute.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay. All right, brother.
It says, Philippians 4, verse 6 and 7 says, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus."
Yeah. So, such a peace is beyond physical explanation, right? So there may not have to have been anything in the natural to make you feel good, but because you cried out to God, you experienced His supernatural peace, and that only comes from God, right? So, you can do that at any time. and any situation, right? Your circumstances are not an excuse for being defeated, depressed, hopeless. There's no natural thing and no physical thing that can stop you from experiencing the joy and the peace of God, that he's given us, he's already given us, and he's intended for you to have it, right? It's yours. It already belongs to you. It has your name on it, if you want to look at it that way. But, if you will get your thinking straightened out, you can begin to access that joy and peace that you'll continuously hear us talk about, regardless of your problems. So, don't wait until something in the natural changes. It's when you begin to change your heart attitude that you will begin to bring your emotions under control. It's not when the circumstance changes on its own and then you can feel better. No, it's a heart attitude. Your emotions will be under control when you begin to put them under control, right? So when you change your heart attitude, that's when you will have emotional stability, right? No matter what your circumstances may be. Let's see. Passing. So Lorena on YouTube said, Trot, my mother passed away last month, and since her passing, I've been in God's perfect peace. Yeah, and it's by choice. So again, you have a loved one pass away a few weeks or a month ago, 100% you could be tempted to just allow your life to spiral down and say, well, it's time to get in my emotions. You can. That's your choice. Or you can do what God is telling us to do, is to start receiving a truth that's already in our born-again spirit and start living that truth out. Regardless of the circumstances, you can have peace that surpasses understanding. I myself, everybody, we've all had something happen that in the natural, it's just, it could be a little overwhelming if you allow it to, and, not even a year ago, I had a real hard thing, take place. Hard for a lot of people, it'd be really hard. And I came to descaled every day. I didn't come to descaled and say, man, I woke up this morning and I was like, man, it's good to be me. Now I do say that every morning, but I don't say it because of anything in the natural, even though that's how it may seem. But it's amazing to be me only because I have realized these truths. These truths has 100% revolutionized the way I see everything in life. People will make comments or, and they're so used to easily getting under people's skin, they think they gotten under my skin, and let me throw this out there. I'm not talking about when you're, doing tit for tat, right? So I always say this, don't dish it out if you can't take it. So if somebody's like giving me a hard time and I go, oh, you want to play? So I start giving them a hard time. Don't get mad. If you can't take the heat in the kitchen, get out the kitchen. That's a completely different thing. So, you're giving somebody a hard time about them and they start giving you a hard time back and they go, hey man, well, why are you in your feelings? Well, I'm not, but I'm just doing back to you what you just did. And now I'm the bad guy. I love it. I love it when someone plays the victim when I know for a fact that they're the ones that started the game. Listen, in America, okay, in this country, America, if you give someone a hard time, and let me tell you this, I am the master at noticing when someone does it in a very passive aggressive way, meaning they don't think that you saw what they did. Oh, no, my friend. Not only did I see it, I'm coming after you. You about to get, so I'm 100% gonna give you the business, and I just can't wait for that person to say, hey man, why are you in your feelings? Now I'm gonna call you out. What do you mean? You didn't think I noticed when you did this? Oh, but I didn't mean. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. And I'm not wrong about when someone's being passive aggressive. I could see it a mile away. It was, let's say, it was my job for years to tell when someone's being passive aggressive. Let me just put it that way. So, and then so they'll get mad at you because you call them out. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff, guys. That kind of stuff is, again, those are rules. It's kind of like playing a sport, baseball. If you don't want to get hit by the ball, get off the field. It's not hard, because I'm telling you, if you play baseball long enough, you're going to get hit by the ball. If you don't like to get tackled, don't go play football. Why are you dressed up to play football? And then when someone tackles you, you're like, say, man, why you hit me so hard? I'm like, you're carrying the ball. What do you mean, bro? You're carrying the ball. Or you get in the cage to do a little MMA, and they do this move, and I've seen people do these kind of moves, right? You're just sparring. Like, you're not actually, it's not an event. Like, you're not trying to win a belt or dethrone anybody. You're sparring. But in the midst of your spar, there's things you can do, bro, that can hurt somebody, and they won't be able to compete for months. Like hyper extending your elbow. You're not even in an arm bar. But they just kind of, like, while y'all are sitting there grappling, they just do it to your elbow. And you're like, say, bro, like, I know you just didn't do that. And people get mad. And I've seen people, like, they act like they didn't know what they did. And when that person wasn't looking, they smacked them a good one. And they're like, hey, man, whoa, why you hit me? And they call them out. I'm going to tell you why. Let's go look at the tape. And now everybody sees what he did. Now you're mad at me because I hit you? Nah, bro. So when you start bringing in the Bible to those things, you might as well tell people, don't play sports, don't do any of that. I'm not talking about those kind of things. Those kind of things, again, the rule of the thumb is, if you don't want the business, don't dish it out. If you can't take it back, don't dish it out. Don't run your mouth to someone and think that they didn't. Again, I'm talking about in a passive aggressive way, like, oh, maybe they didn't know. Bro, the people can see that stuff. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about how a circumstance in your life, something came out of nowhere, right? You didn't put yourself in this ring, but yet the heat came on you. It came out of nowhere, and you're tempted to fall apart like a $2 suitcase. You have to start learning that you have to put your emotions in check. You have to tell yourself the truth that even though that this circumstances is bad, I am not going to allow those circumstances to override a truth in my life any longer, right? So when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you will start putting your emotions under control, right? So somebody read James 1. And I think after we read James 1, that's going to be a good stopping point.
It says, James, a servant of God and the Lord Jesus Christ.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fault, CJ. James 1:13.
Oh, okay, my bad.
It's okay.
Oh.
Want me to read it?
All right. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I was just saying because you sound.
Go ahead, read it. James 13. James 1:13.
Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man.
Right. So, one of the first steps to overcome negative emotions is to say, Father, it is not your will that I be this way. God is not the one who makes people depressed, discouraged, anger, or bitter, right? A lot of times, right? People will blame God, thinking that he allowed some negative thing to happen to them for some mysterious unknown reason, right? They say, well, God must be punishing me, for something I did wrong in my life. So I guess I'll just have to bear my cross and and suffer for him, even though it is destroying me emotionally, right? But God is not the one who makes people an emotional wreck. It's not him that's doing that, right? That is not the way God operates. That's the way Satan operates. And you're at some point in your life, you're going to have to start telling the truth that God good, Satan bad, right? So anything bad happening, Satan, not God. But you do have a lot of people that will love to preach and make other people believe. They'll be using lots of scripture. They'll say, see, I'm using scripture, taking it not just out of context, but using scripture, not understanding like why these certain phrases are being used, right? Because God punishes us, and they'll use that. I went to prison. God sent me to prison. Always trying to blame God. No, your choice. Instead of you living your life out of your spirit, instead of you taking control over your emotions, you became self-centered, right? And through that self-centeredness, it led you to go to prison. And instead of you saying, you know what, my choices led me to prison. No, it was God, because I'm a prophet and he needed me in there to bring people alive. That, to be honest, that is the most arrogant thing I ever heard in my life. Elijah thought he was by himself, but there was 7,000 other people that can hear from God that God was using, but yet he thought he was the only one. That is a complete lie. You are not that kind of special where God has to destroy your life and send you to prison because he needed you to minister. Look, he can use you to minister to people while you're there, but trust me when I tell you, God don't need you. He don't. There is always people that are listening to God, and he uses people who listen to him. So while you're out there acting like a complete imbecile, how are you listening to God? Oh, but once you go to prison, God sent you to prison. It's a complete lie, right? So you need to be able to harness your emotions, right? James 1:14 says, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lusts and enticed. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed, right? So, when this verse says every man, it means there is no exception. You're not the exception. You were drawn away by your own self, and you did something ridiculous, and now we're going to blame God and say, well, God did that to me. No. The Bible says otherwise, okay? So we'll stop there regarding harnessing your emotions. We'll stop there because I know is Jennifer's not even up here. Jennifer left. That's all right. We'll go over Jennifer's next time she comes up. But Dre wanted to go over. Hey, where's it at, Dre? You got the address where you wanted to go?
And teacher, also after Dre's thing, right? Like tomorrow or whenever we get time, can we know the difference between like prayer and supplication?
Yeah, well, I'm probably not gonna talk about prayer today, because I'm thinking we might talk about prayer after harnessing emotions. So
Okay.
yeah,
because I don't know what the
no, we'll go over it. Yeah, we'll go over it. Dre, where was the address you were at?
Numbers chapter 2. Numbers chapter 5. Sorry.
Yeah, Numbers 5. Oh Lord.
Let me drop for Jennifer and come up.
Do what?
I'm gonna drop and Jenny will come up because he says she's in the comments.
All right, what is it the whole chapter? Because I think it's like 5 or 10 verses, isn't it? I don't think it's very big.
Yeah, give me a second. You caught me off guard here.
Oh,
give me a second.
All right.
31 verse.
I can drop instead, sis, because I'm driving.
So Numbers 5, starting in
4 or 5.
No, I think it's savor oath, then the Cohen, water, clay jar. I think it's 11.
Oh, 11. All right, who's going to read it?
I can read it.
All right, that's cool. Go ahead.
It says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, If any man's wife go aside and commit a trespass against him, a man and a man lie with her carnally, and it be hid from the eyes of her husband, and it be kept close, she be defiled, and there be no witness against her, neither she be taken with the manner. And the spirit of jealousy come upon him, and he be jealous of his wife, and she be defiled, or if the spirit of jealousy come upon him, and he be jealous of his wife, and she is not defiled, then the man, then shall the man bring his wife unto the priest, and he shall bring her offering for her, the 10th part of an ephah of barley meal, and shall pour no oil upon it, nor put frankincense therein, for it is an offering of jealousy, an offering of memorial, bringing iniquity to remembrance. And the priest shall bring her near, and he shall set before the Lord. And the priest shall take holy water in an earthen vessel, and of the dust of the floor of the tabernacle the priest shall take and put it into the water. And the priest shall set the woman before the Lord, and uncover the woman's head, and put the offering of memorial in her hands, which is a jealousy offering. And the priest shall have in his hand the bitter water that causes the curse. And
Yeah, he
So
got
you
it.
get a call.
Yeah, he got a call. Yeah, I don't know if he's he might know he's muted. That's all right. Let me see. Where did he leave off?
Is it 19?
19. Let me see.
You want me to get it?
Yeah, go ahead. You can start. Yeah, you can start at 19. Go ahead.
And the priest shall charge her by an oath, and say unto the woman, If no man have lain with thee, and if thou hast not gone aside to uncleanness with another instead of thy husband, be thou free from his bitter water that causeth the curse. But if thou hast gone aside to another instead of thy husband, and thou be defiled, and some man have lain with thee, beside thine husband, then the priest shall charge the woman with an oath of cursing, and the priest shall say unto the woman, The Lord make thee a curse and an oath among thy people. When the Lord doth make thy thigh to rot, and thy belly to swell. And this water that causeth the curse shall be unto thy bowels, to make thy belly to swell, and to the thigh to rot. And the woman shall say, Amen, Amen. And the priest shall write these curses in a book, and he shall blot them out with the bitter water. And he shall cause the woman to drink the bitter water that causeth the curse, and the water that causeth the curse shall enter into her and become bitter. Then the priest shall take the jealousy offering out of the woman's hand, and shall wave the offering before the Lord, and offer it upon the altar. And the priest shall take an handful of the offering, even the memorial thereof, and burn it upon the altar, and afterward shall cause the woman to drink the water. And when he hath made her to drink the water, then it shall come to pass that if she be defiled and have done trespass against her husband, that the water that causeth the curse shall enter into her and become bitter, and her belly shall swell, and her thigh shall rot, and the woman shall be a curse among her people. And if the woman be not defiled, but be clean, then she shall be free, and shall conceive seed. This is the law of jealousy, when a wife goeth aside to another instead of her husband, and is defiled, or when the spirit of jealousy cometh upon him, and he be jealous over his wife, and shall set the woman before the Lord, and the priest shall execute upon her all this law. Then shall the man be guiltless from iniquity, and the woman shall bear her iniquity. That's all of 5. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, no, that's good. Dre, you back?
Okay.
Yeah. So a couple questions. One of the things that so I was thinking, like, I was just meditating on this stuff, and I'm trying to think, like, the shadow thereof. Would the woman be sort of like is the woman a representation of, like, there's a bunch of things started going in my head, like, of the spirit? You know, the spirit wouldn't, like, the bitter cup with Christ, but then he produced seed.
Yeah.
Through the spirit.
Yeah. So this right here is 1000%. 1000% talking about a lot of things, but the root of what this is talking about is when Adam's spirit died. If you can look at Adam's spirit dying and notice how it's talking about how she is now bitter water, and it says that her thigh is rotten, meaning how can you bring someone alive unless you pick up your mat and walk and preach the gospel? How can you bear spiritual children if you're not walking the truth out? Right? So you're not the one that's bringing the gospel. 100%, that's what it's referring to. That's why it's saying the belly is swollen with cursed water. It's bitter. It doesn't have living water inside of it. But then if it says, if the person, talking about the woman, that if she did not defile herself, because being defiled is being dead in the eyes of God, not defiled because of sin, the way we see it in this physical, meaning if your spirit has been defiled, it's dead. If the root of you, and again, it's talking about the bitter water. But notice what it says, that if it's found that she's innocent, all of a sudden it talks about her bearing seed now. Meaning she can have children. But we have children. All of us do, spiritually. Making disciples is spreading Eden, right? That was the whole point of Eden being spread into the earth. That was the whole point of it. It was supposed to continue to flourish, but it didn't. It got stopped. So, does that help?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. I just wanted you to expand on it because that's what I was like, okay. So, and also, the part that kind of stuck out to me too was verse 31. Then it shall be that the man be guiltless from iniquity. Like, why would he be guilty of iniquity anyway?
Yeah, so let me go to, let me see where it says. Yeah.
Okay, he's guiltless, but she's bearing iniquity.
Yeah, because remember, if he goes up there and says, hey, she's been unfaithful, and she hasn't been unfaithful, then there is going to be guilt on him if she wasn't. Right? So let me go to...
Would that have to be like, have to do with like being one flesh? That's what I was thinking, like being one flesh and her being in adultery, basically.
Yeah, let me. Oh, there's a part right here. And when he hath made her, it might be 27. Hold on. It says, and when he hath made her to drink the water, then it shall come to pass that if she be defiled and have done a trespass against her husband, that the water that causes the curse shall enter into her and become bitter, and her belly shall swell, and her thigh shall rot, and the woman shall be a curse among the people. And if the woman be not defiled, but be clean, then she shall be free and shall conceive seed. This is the law of jealousy. when a wife goeth aside to another instead of her husband and is defiled, or when the spirit of jealousy cometh upon him, and he be jealous over his wife, and shall set the woman before the Lord, and the priest shall execute upon her all the law, then shall the man be guiltless from iniquity. So he's guiltless from iniquity by bringing it up to the high priest. So remember when, and that's why right after this, it should be the law of the Nazarite. Hold on. And the Lord shall speak unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say to them, whether a man or a woman shall separate themselves, a vow of the Nazarite to separate themselves, the Lord, he shall separate himself from wine, strong drink. So right after this, he brings up the law of the Nazarite immediately right after this. And whenever Mary was pregnant, the Bible says that that Joseph could have made an example of her, which would have been this law right here. The law we just went over.
Right, that he could have gave her the bitter water.
Yeah, he could have ran her through that whole thing. But if he would have, I'm telling you, what would have happened is she would not have, the curse would not have hit her, and he would have been guilty because he would have pointed at her wrongfully. But that's why both Mary and Joseph had to come from David, because coming from the lineage of David, it was a pride thing. And I don't mean pride in a negative way. People were happy to come through the lineage of David because King David was considered a good king, even with all the shenanigans. And they knew that the Messiah was going to come through the lineage of David. And no one should be surprised that both Mary and Joseph both came from the lineage of David, and those are the two people that raised Jesus as a baby. Bro, no, it wouldn't have worked through nobody else. It would have only worked through the lineage of David. If you just go look at the whole story of David, everything a lot that these people were doing was by faith. Everything David did was by faith, and he knew it. So this stuff was passed down through all of them. So when people say, no, all of them had the same faith, bro, no, they didn't. Not everybody had the same faith David did, bro. Stop lying. No, they did not. I don't care what you say. They were all God's people. No, I don't care if they were all God's people. It makes it very clear that a rod will come from the stem of Jesse. It makes it very clear where he's going to come from. And there's a very specific reason why. So for both of them to understand that David did a lot of things by faith, a lot, for him to do all the things that he did. He wrote the Psalms based on faith alone, obviously, as well. And so when they say, oh, no, see, Mary had to be perfect because Jesus had to come through the lineage of David. Bro, nobody in David's family was perfect. David was a complete mess. You're going to sit there and tell me that Mary was protected and had to be? No, bro.
I know.
Absolutely not. Mary was not protected from sin the way people lie about. It was by faith that Jesus came through her, not because of how good she was. It's ridiculous. It was all by faith. Joseph didn't take her to the high priest. By faith, he believed what the angel said. It's the only way. And I don't know why people get surprised that both of them came from David. And David knew how to just trust God. He knew this was passed down through all of the children of David that came through there. And it's not a coincidence that both Mary and Joseph, they both had to operate in faith. Both of them did. But he could have took Mary up there and made an example of her, huh?
So the law of jealousy, it says that God is a jealous God.
Yeah.
I was thinking about all this stuff as well. Like, since God is a jealous God, in the law of jealousy, if from your belly you're flowing rivers of living water, then you're producing seed, which would make you his, basically, like undefiled unto him, versus having a belly full of cursed water, which would be, not saved, not believing in him, not having faith.
Yeah. And, where it says, God is a jealous God, you have, like I said, there's two of everything in the Bible, and there's two types of jealousy. You have people that are jealous of other things taking place, like in the world or whatever, but it's out of envy. It has nothing to do with you. Like if you have a girlfriend and y'all are not married and she's hanging out with another guy and you're jealous, that's out of envy. That's a sin because y'all aren't married. That's not yours. Okay. Not saying that when you get married, it's yours. I'm saying based on the Bible, what the things that are God's, that are his, and when I say God's, I don't mean plural. I'm saying the things that are God's things, that kind of jealousy isn't out of envy. It's really funny when you talk about God is a jealous God. Every Nimrod around loves to read that. They're like, see, it's not wrong to be jealous, or it is wrong, and God was jealous, therefore he's wrong. Bro, if something belongs to you 100%, like this is my arm. If someone came and cut my arm off and put it on their arm so they can have an arm, I'm not sinning to be jealous that that person has what's mine. That's not sinning. It is mine. That's not sin. It's not out of envy. I'm not envious of that guy's arm. It's actually my arm. And people don't put two and two together, that when it says that he's a jealous God, he's jealous of something that really is his. Not something that he wishes was his. That's not proper. That's not proper to be jealous of someone else when they have something that's not even yours. That's called covetousness. So now you're jealous because you're coveting over what people have. So when it says God's a jealous God, he's jealous about things that are his. So it's not a sin. What'd you say? Given grace? No, you need your arm for the timber. That ain't no lie. Yeah. What time is it? Dang, man. Dre, is there something else you want to say? Jennifer, I don't know if Jennifer's still in here. If you are, don't forget that we're going to... you weren't up here. I don't know why you left. Maybe you had an emergency or something. But next time, Monday, when we start going over... harnessing your emotions. Remember that we are going to go over, she wants to go over a tabernacle, and we'll go over it Monday. Dre, anything else on that?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Anybody got anything else before we hop off? Anybody? Christian, you go first. You got something to say before we hop off? Christian. All right. I guess not. Okay. Living by faith. You got anything?
No, it's been wonderful. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. God bless.
Absolutely. CJ, what you got before we hop off?
God bless. Have a good weekend.
All right, man. All right, guys. We'll see y'all. If we see y'all sooner than Monday, we do if we do. But definitely Monday morning. So God bless. We will see y'all soon.